everybody, welcome back to another Bottom 5 right here on the Dice Tower. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And we are talking about our Bottom 5. That is the bottom half of our top 10 drafting games. So for this list, we determined that we would use both closed and open drafting. And I think you said that you might have used another kind of drafting, but...
Well, I looked at action drafting as well, but I don't think any of those ended up on here, actually.
Okay. What happened was... Somebody said you should do top 10 games that if you like Blood Rage, you'll also like these games. And my first initial thought, JT doesn't like Blood Rage. So
doesn't mean I can't do a list.
That's true, I know. But
I was Ticket to Ride.
I was thinking of you. Yeah, that's exactly why.
I would
right there.
I would troll the whole list.
And so I was like, well, basically that would just turn into a closed drafting list. Top 10 closed drafting games, of which Blood Rage would not be included. And then I looked at closed drafting games, and my list was poo-poo. So I was like, okay, we need to do something. So I said, let's include open drafting, or let's just make it a drafting games
wise
list.
move.
Did you get your average weight?
I almost forgot, actually.
Almost forgot, but that means you didn't forget.
2.33 is my average weight.
Ooh. My average was 1.97.
Yeah.
1.97.
Drafting's a very light.
That tracks, though.
Yeah.
You're the heavier.
It very much tracks.
You like the heavier games.
Sure.
I like the lighter to mid-weight games.
The drafting games are very light, typically.
Most of the time. Yeah, most of the time.
How do you define a drafting game?
How do I define drafting? I define drafting game where, okay, if it's closed drafting, you have a hand of cards, and you have to choose one of those cards to keep, and then you pass the other ones around.
He left Draftosaurus out, didn't he?
I probably did.
Passing dinosaurs around.
I never played that game, so I had to leave
That's
it
fair.
out.
I didn't.
That's closed drafting. So something similar to that, where you have a hand, you're going to pick something, and that information is closed to the other person. But when you turn it to
open drafting...
Open drafting can be a lot of different things. It can be that you have a market of cards or things or tiles or whatever it might be, and you have to choose from that market of something.
As long as you can choose. So I excluded any kind of card market that you have to buy from.
Okay, yeah.
If you have to pay for something, or if there's something you cannot get out of there without resources or something like that, that's a card market. That's not drafting. Drafting is reaching out and grabbing what you want. I mean, kind of. That's...
Yes.
So I excluded all card markets, and I excluded all auctions and things like that. Because that's not drafting.
Yes. We're on the same board. Woohoo! We're on the same page.
The first time.
Woo! All right, here we go. It's our top 10, starting with our bottom 5 right here on the Dice Tower. Drafting games. Let's hit it. All right, my number 10 is my heaviest game.
Woohoo!
And
that's why it is 10.
And it is a exactly. See, at least I'm consistent. And it is a two-player only game.
This is your number 10?
Mm-hmm. It's a two-player only game. What is it?
Beer and bread.
Yes. Beer and bread is absolutely correct. This is a very fun two-player game that absolutely has closed drafting. Now, it's closed drafting at the very beginning, but after you pass those cards once, you know what's in those decks. You know what's in both of your hands. If you have that good of memory.
Sure.
I don't. So,
any closed drafting game you play two players, that's the same scenario.
Right. But two-player, it feels less like closed drafting than a five-player game of closed drafting would be. So
but you can play, well, never mind. I won't say any of your other games, but you can play some of those two-player too, and that's the same.
Truth. Yes.
Yep.
That is absolutely true. But I love Beer and Bread. I think it's a great... it's probably about the top level of two-player games that I want as far as complexity is concerned. I think if there's any more complexity than that, I'm like, why is this just two players? I want it to be something other than just two players. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed this. Using the multi-use cards also was another reason why I like this a lot. But it is heavier than I usually want my two-player games to be, which is why it's at number 10. But that's that.
I got smoked by Mel about 2 weeks ago playing this.
Really?
Yeah, she killed me. Gosh darn it, she did.
That tells you what kind. I know you've never actually met Mel.
No.
On one of our streams, but that tells you how good of a gamer she is.
She
because
beats me all the time.
She beats him on a regular basis, and he wallops us on a regular basis. So you definitely see the hierarchy that's there.
I don't know. I got to put a couple caveats. I left all of the sushi. I just for ease of play, I left all of the hundreds of sushi games out, drafting games out, and I left all of the tile market games out. They're all exactly the same, and I couldn't pick one over the ever 19. You could make a whole list of just central tile drafting.
And
games.
I left off Blood Rage. I need to say that because Blood Rage would automatically be number one.
Sure.
Period. End of discussion.
All
Anyway,
right.
your number 10.
My number 10. My number 10 is a little tile drafting game where you're building a kingdom called King Domino. I love King Domino.
Very good one.
I took it to my mom's house not too long ago. We had a blast. Everybody loves it down there. King Domino is just great. Specifically, play Origins. You don't need Queen Domino. You don't need normal King Domino anymore. Play Origins.
Well, if you want the complexity, you want Queen Domino. There's more
No,
complexity
Origins got
there.
more good stuff than
good
like
stuff.
it's like streamlined. You know, I'd rather play because it has 3 different modes in King Domino Origins.
Yeah.
You can play with little dudes. You can play with little resources that you're set collecting as well. So there's quite a bit in it.
Okay,
If
cool.
you want it, or
All
you
right.
can play the base. But anyways, King Domino's great. In Origins, you're drafting tiles. You're also drafting in those tiles. There are volcanoes, and those volcanoes push fire out to different tiles, which is really cool because it's in King Domino. Instead of using your crowns, you have these fire on tiles, but you can also create, your own scoring with these volcanoes. So it's really cool.
That is
So
cool.
anyway, my number 10, King Domino, fantastic game.
Origins,
Origins,
specifically.
yes.
Okay. All right, my number 9 is another 2-player game. And I like this theme just slightly better than Beer and Bread. And it has a lighter complexity level, which makes me like it a little bit better than Beer and Bread as well. But it is also a 2-player or a single-player game. And this is one that I was just recently introduced to. So it's pretty hot for me right now, and that is a game called Sirens from Envy Born Games. And this is a really cool game where in the 2-player game, you have closed drafting where you have a hand of cards, your opponent has a hand of cards, you choose one, pass it across the table, just like in Beer and Bread. But the complexity level for this one is considerably lower. It's a 1.5. This is my lightest game on this list. But the tension that you get in Beer and Bread is exactly the same. And I think it's significantly shorter than Beer and Bread as well.
I think that's why it probably gets the 1.5, because truthfully, there's a lot of different things on those cards you're thinking about doing everything, which is nice because there are multiple things on each card you're drafting. So I like that.
Yep.
I'd say it's more complex than many drafting games with what's on those cards.
But it is short. You just play for 2
very
out of
short.
3, and then you're done. You can play another game if you wish. The solo mode of the game does not have any drafting in it. You are simply taking your top decking cards for the solo player, and then you have your own cards for yourself. So it's not closed drafting at that point. But in the 2-player game, absolutely is, and it is a very fun game in my opinion. I also like the theming better, I said this earlier, and I like the artwork as well. Although it does have some pretty eccentric artwork, but it's cool. So that's my number 9, Sirens from Envy Born Games.
Very nice. My number 9 is a new to me game, very new to me game, actually. Or at least quite new to me game, and that is a Shem Phillips game called Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux.
Redux or Redo.
Yep. In this game, that's exactly what you're doing. You're close hand drafting cards You're collecting 6 cards, and then you're doing a bunch of very Euro-y actions with those cards. And they are multi-use cards in multiple ways. It's a very cool game. You're collecting villages. You're trying to build long ships. You're doing the Shem Phillips thing where you're putting down a building and then putting a worker underneath it to increase the abilities and stuff like that. But there's a ton of stuff you're closed drafting for. So yeah, it's a very cool game.
Did you play the original?
No.
Have you ever played the original? No? Okay. I've played the original, and I did not dislike it as much as everybody else did. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to like this one.
Well, they're not the same game. I mean, everything's completely different, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
They totally revamped
redid it. They could have named it something else.
I'm still.
It's a 100% different game from what I can tell.
Still wanting to see if I would like this one better.
Yeah.
So
fair.
Anyway, that's a cool one. I want to play it. All right, my number 8 is an open drafting game, and the weight of this one was 1.75. This one's called In the Footsteps of Darwin. Now, this is one where it has a little bit of a twist on open drafting because everything is out there. You don't have to spend anything to take the things, the tiles, but you move the ship 1 to 3 spaces. And then that determines how far into the row you can pick and how rather deep or shallow in the row you pick. So if you only move it once, you can take the first tile. If you move it twice, you can take the second tile. If you move it 3 times, you can take the third tile.
So is it a grid?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's
now
a grid.
I want to play it.
It's a 9 tile grid, and you're moving the ship along the outside. If you move it 1, you take the first one. If you move it twice, you can take the second. But it's also the row. If you come around the corner, you can take the other direction. Yeah.
That reminds me of Quadropolis. At least
a little bit.
At least a
little bit.
That's cool. Quadropolis didn't make my list because I didn't think of it, but that's a good drafting.
Sure.
Tile drafting.
Yep. But I really enjoy this game, and it's exactly the right level. It's got a lot of different things in it. It's mainly a set collection game. But how you're getting those tiles and how you're collecting those sets is powered by an open drafting system.
That's
and
cool.
So I really enjoy this game. It's by a company called Sorry, We Are French. I love that company name. It's just a funny name. I love it when people have the ability to laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
I love it. So, but the game is very good. I like everything about it. My number 8, In the Footsteps of Darwin.
Nice. I like that mechanism. I want to try it now.
It's cool.
All right. My number 8 is a really cool game where you are drafting tiles and then putting in your Old West board. And it's called Wild Tiled West. And you know me, I like to get different kind of smatterings of, within the
Doesn't this kind of break
within
your
the
rule?
category.
Doesn't it kind of break your own rule? Because sometimes you got to pay for them things. You got to pay.
Well, you got to pay if you want to push up.
Uh-huh.
But that's still drafting. You pick you pick your dice and you draft the first one. If you want to go further, you can.
All right.
That is true.
Okay.
Caveat. You can't use the inside of the board. then.
Asterisk.
But other than that, Wild Tile West is a really cool game.
Yeah, it is. It's
where you're
fun.
drafting these little buildings and pastures and everything else, and trying to shoot all the bandits, and it's just really quite fun. So
Yeah, that is a good one. It's a good pick. I like it. My number 7 is another open drafting game, and the weight of this one is a 1.9. I just got the expansion for this one, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. Expansion does a couple of different things. It opens up, well, it has a lot of modules in it, but it opens up for 5 players as well, which is a cool thing. Has a new board in it as well. Bonsai.
oh,
Bonsai is a really fun drafting game. It is open drafting because all of the cards are out there and you can take any one of them. A couple of different things. The card that you take, again, multi-use cards is something that I really enjoy when paired with drafting. Because you could draft a card for this reason when somebody else wants it for the other reason. And that just makes a really tight atmosphere for gameplay to happen in, and I really enjoy it. Anyway, with Bonsai, you're really just drafting cards that are going to help you do different things as you're cultivating your own bonsai tree. and it could give you different kinds of tiles. It could give you end of game bonuses or scoring or something to that effect. It could give you the ability to play some tiles immediately, whereas you either have to usually draft or cultivate your tree. You can't do both at the same time, but sometimes the cards that you draft will allow you to add hex tiles to your tree and cultivate it. I just really enjoy it. It's a great game, and every time it's hit the table, people have really, really loved it. So that's my number 7, Bonsai.
Nice. My number 7, you are drafting beautiful little clear dice that are all different colors in a snake draft, and it's called
Sagrada.
Sagrada is a great game. No matter how you play it or where you play it, whatever else. You take out 2 dice plus 1 for every person here, basically, or whatever. If you have 4 people, you take out 9 dice, and you roll them, and then you have to snake draft them and get them in your board. And your board has to match a bunch of color restrictions and a bunch of number restrictions. And you're trying to make this beautiful little stained glass.
It's one of those games that you love being last, but you hate being last at the same time.
Yeah, the same thing. You love being first, and you hate being first at the same time.
Exactly, because you know you can get 1.
Yep.
But if everybody stays away from your dice, you get 2 of the dice you want if you're in the last place of that snake draft. Oh,
yep.
Man. That's a great game, though. It's a beautiful game, too. It's got a really good table presence with minimalistic components.
Yep.
I really like that game.
Yep.
That's a great
And you
pick.
can play it. It's got a little bit of complexity with the tools. But if you're playing with new people, just take the tools out. You don't need them. So.
Yep. All those tools can be really helpful.
Oh, they're really powerful. But
You
if
can
you
get really
take
stuck.
them out of there to teach the game, that's pretty easy too.
Yep. That's a good pick. Good pick. All right, my number 6 is the last one for me on this list, and it is an open drafting game, weighted at 1.75. So again, I'm super on the light scale here, but this one's called Trekking Through History. Trekking Through History. This is a game that the drafting is so, I want to say, crucial, because if you can't get the right year, and if you don't start with the right year, you really have to get really sporty really quick with how you're doing it. But I also like the idea that they threw into it that you can always go back and visit your ancestors instead of picking one of the cards that are in the tile, that are in the market, so to speak, so that you can kind of pass from picking from that open market at least once, so that hopefully some other people pick some stuff and that stuff gets mixed around. I really do enjoy this game. It's basically you're just trying to put together, it's glorified Racco, but in a good way. I've said that.
Racco's better. No, I'm just kidding. Racco's not better.
It is not better. Don't listen to JT.
Racco's
he just
great.
had a brain fart.
No, Racco's great, but the trekking games are great as well.
But this is just a great open drafting game. I love the complexity of it. I love the component value of it. Everything is great about this game. So artwork is good too. I really enjoy it. It's my number 6. Trekking Through History.
Very nice. We need to have Racco the draft game, and that would even be better. So, all right. It's true. Racco's not bad. Racco's fun. All right. Anyways, my number 6, the last one on this list for the Dice Tower, is a game from Stonemaier Games where you're open drafting in a very cool way with a very cool theme, and that is Red Rising. Ooh. I really like Red Rising because you're doing complete hand management. It's all about your hand, and you have 4 locations on the board. Not only are you drafting for the card, which you're actually replacing cards as you go, but you're going for the card. You're also going for an action or an item with each of your picks. So, and all the cards have special abilities at the bottoms, plus the scoring that matches within your hand. So, there's a lot of things to think about every single time you pick up a card in this game. So, I really like Red Rising.
I've only played this once, and I think you taught it.
Yep.
Over at that dude's house in East Wenatchee. I can't remember his name.
Yep. I really like this game. I really like this game solo. or with players, it's awesome either way. With people, it's good too, obviously.
I like this game solo.
It's really quite a fun solo game as well. But yeah, every drafting decision you have is important.
Yep. All right. So. Well, that's our bottom half of our top 10 drafting games. At this point, you can head right on over to the Flipside of Board Games. That's our channel where we post stuff on a regular basis. And the top 5 drafting games will be available for you to peruse at your pleasure, or at your leisure, rather, I guess.
Both.
Your
leisurely pleasure.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, We're going to head over there right now, so we'll see you there. Give us a like and comment right here so that we can respond to you. Let us know what we missed. Go check out our top 5, and we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
See you later.